Welcome, everybody, to the Alchemist of Self podcast, a journey to unleashing your magical potential. Today, we have a very special guest, Carmelle Riley from New Zealand. She is not only a Southern Hemisphere astrologist and also specializes in reading stars and starseed origins. She's also an author with a new book launching very, very soon. So we will be discussing that a little bit later in this podcast. So stay tuned. And I'm also honored that Carmelle will be doing a mini hypnosis session on myself. So definitely stay tuned for that. Welcome, Carmelle.
Oh, kia ora, kia ora. It's so lovely to be here with you, Michelle. It really is. I've been watching you on YouTube, and I really love the message that you share with the world. I think it's incredibly brave at your age to be out of the spiritual closet. Actually, it's brave at any point in your life to be out of the spiritual closet. But I love that you do it from this premise of the self and the self within, which is, you just can't get it wrong when you lead from within. But, as we're going to explore, it's really hard for us pretty much to own that, or for most of us to own that in our lives. Yeah, so honoring you and your audience, there's going to be some high vibes in what we send, so beaming them out if you're either listening now or afterwards. But yeah, thank you for having me here.
It's an honor to have you here, and I'm so excited to dive into this discussion. I know there's going to be so much magic to unravel and dive into. So really, we're going to be diving into and having conversations around manifestation, abundance shifts, and also how to allow the universe to work for us. So that is really what Carmelle is specializing in also. And I'm really excited because this is my jam too. I love this. So Carmelle, I would just like to get us started with just getting to know you more. Like, where has your journey started from? What made you, what happened where you've become so interested in manifestation and learning about abundance shifts, astrology, etc.? Where did that all start from for you?
Well, I believe that it starts before we come in. So I know my home planets. It has taken me pretty much my entire life to find them, but I'm from Hini Tākarua, which is Sirius, and Canopus, which is Aotahi, and they're really old star systems. And it actually, as soon as I found that out, like, everything fell into place pretty much quite quickly. But to get to that place, because I'm 52, just saying, I want to get that out. Because people don't generally, come, most people, that's why I praised you at the beginning, most people come into spirituality the hard way. They come through trauma. They come through life experience that really shows the shadow of themselves to themselves. And I definitely was one of those people. So I had no inkling really of where I would go in my journey of spirituality until my mid-40s, when Uranus hit my chart. And probably a lot of, very few people know this, but Aotearoa, our land, is governed by the Aquarius star system. And Uranus, the Ruamuku, the earthquakes, we both experience this in Christchurch with our earthquakes, the Ruamuku. That's Uranus. And essentially the Uranian journey, I don't know if anyone's ever told you this before, but the Uranian journey is to own the power within. So we are really great manifestors down here in Aotearoa. We are blessed with this ability to be free and to be able to be innovative. But for most people, they have no idea of the power within. So that is the Uranian journey, to really uncover the power within and stop kind of like fighting your life or fighting yourself, or in my case, fighting everybody, which I guess is a little bit, so I talked about my star line, sort of my ancestral, my earthly lines. I've got Māori, Niuean, Hawaiian, and Pakistani, and every one of those lines is disconnected, full of trauma, full of family violence. And, you know, I grew up with teenage parents. My mum was 16 when she got pregnant with me, and she had to marry my dad. And, you know, they were really teenage parents. So I have this experience of deep trauma, and that is really what kind of got me into my spirituality, because I was forced to. I was dragged kicking and screaming. In my 40s, I just had so much conflict, and I blamed everybody else, and particularly my husband, till I really was kind of brought to my knees. And there was a little incident, and if you want, we can talk through that, but I write about it in the book. But there was an incident that really brought me to my knees, and it was at that point I was like, okay, I have to take responsibility for what is in here. And then I had to open the door and look at it, and it was really scary. It is really scary when you actually confront your shadow to the full depths. And as a Scorpio, I know that you can probably do that easier than most. It's always very present. But for those of us, and I'm a rising Cancer, so I like everything to be super comfortable. And, you know, my happy place is under a blanket in a warm space. So I don't like shadow, and I really did not like having to own it. It was excruciatingly difficult and painful to say, actually, I've got to stop using my toxicity, and I've got to understand that toxicity and the origins of it. And I guess from that, I think anyone who understands shadow and understands the shadow within is really, that contrast is really because you have a lot of light. And as soon as you open the door, as soon as you let go, as soon as you say, yep, that was bad, I've got to, you know, I've got this stuff that I need to clear out. As soon as you do that, then you can come through into a really different place. And so essentially that's what happened to me. It was a very unpretty journey, really. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And it's so relatable for so many. You know, I definitely find that so many of us at different stages of our life, I feel like we, you know, it's kind of all in divine timing. But just having those moments of like getting to that point of just being sick of your own shit. Like you just literally get to, like you say, brought to your knees, and just being like, this just can't keep going on this way. I can't keep showing up in this way. I can't keep doing this to myself. I can't keep doing this to others. And I feel like that is very relatable to everyone. Is at some point you just get to that point of being like, no more. Something has to change. And also, like you say, of when you can be brave enough to face those uncomfortable parts of yourself, those shadows, and really take yourself there, and recognizing that as soon as you've met yourself at those most ugliest, uncomfortable parts of yourself, you get to transmute them into your light, into your power, you know, and there's nothing anybody can almost hold against you anymore at that point, because you've
Well,
claimed
they still can. You forget where we live, Michelle. You forget
yes,
okay. I spoke about, you know, the owning the power within. But to be my daughter said to me when she was about 13, she said, Mum, exactly what point did you lose your mind? And I was like, darling, just want to say this is, you know, I don't think I have lost my mind. I just found better words to describe this crazy. And when people say you're so woo, I will say, no, woo adjacent. You know, I can put on the other, you know, because I had a career as and I still have it. I have a business, and which is, you know, it's a proper business, and I trained as a lawyer. So I didn't come to this kind of universality by just because I decided. But I think there's a way of describing this, and that is wairua. And if you're Māori, it's easy to understand. If you're most Pacific Islanders understand it as well, because wairua, do you know what it means?
I don't, because I'm actually from Finland and have South American.
Wow.
I moved to
Okay.
New Zealand when I was 7 years
I was
old.
going to ask where your beauty came from, and that's where it is. And also your name, because it's a beautiful name. Yeah.
Polish name from my dad's side.
Polish name. Okay. Wow. Oh, well, we're going to get into some of it because you've got deep clans in you. So wairua means the two rivers, literally, Wai and Rua. But it doesn't mean that. It means you're the navigator, and it's your role to converge the universal and the physical in your life. So that's really what it is about. But most people will, and certainly for me until I was in my mid-40s, when I was confronting this pattern of warfare through others, through me, I was very physical. I just believed that there was only the physical. And if people, because from the day I was born, people said, you were so spiritual. And I'd be looking at them like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, you don't know me. I'm practical. But it is that weaving of that, the flowing of the awa, which actually gives us our real beauty and gives us that depth. And, when you can't rely on your conditioned senses any longer, it is the universe where you'll flow. But even today, I block it all the time. I find it really hard to embrace the universe. I do. I find it really hard to think that I'm just this tiny, tiny speck of the 1%, and the 99% is out there. It is the hardest lesson. Yeah. But I guess that's why we're here. We're here as the navigators. We're here on this journey. We're attracted to this whenua with its, hugely powerful romaku, the earthquake zone. We're attracted here because we've got a job to do, which is light when you get over yourself.
Yeah.
Which is in every day, every moment. It's in every thought.
It's a journey, isn't it? It's just a continuous journey.
It is a continuous journey. And I don't think the universe sees it that way. I think the universe in us is always looking at us going, what the hell? What the hell's wrong with you? But I feel that it's us. It's really hard for us to understand that there's more than what we see here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I definitely personally believe it's just we've been so conditioned to the disconnection of who we truly are, where we originate from, what our actual history is, what has been, how, how deep we have been in our magic in the past has all been blocked away from us. It's been cancelled, it's been buried, it's been burnt, so it's definitely it's a time of that remembrance again, and you can feel it, even I feel as well, a lot of people who may not be so connected to their own spirituality yet, they still feel the shift happening collectively. It's so in our faces, the systems crumbling and things just becoming so obvious. It's all the veils are coming down and everything's just being exposed, and there's a lot of ugly and pain that has to come before the light comes, and that's what we've been experiencing for the past, well, a few years, but I feel like definitely quite heavily in the past 3-4 years. It's really been shaking shit up for us, because it's the time is here. We can't continue on the way that we have so blindly up until this point.
Well, I mean, we're more than halfway to becoming plastic bags. Actually, I was going to ask you, so where are your ancestors from in Finland? So where are you from? The fjords? Are you of that Viking heritage? Because I'm speaking about warfare in my lines, but you've got warfare and magic in many of yours, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've got a mixture between Swedish and Finnish. So my mother's side is half Swedish. So we come from the like 4 generations before me originated from Sweden, and I'm from the southern Finland, so by Helsinki, by the coastline. And from my father's side, I've got Chilean directly from his father, Spanish, Polish, Italian, Croatian, and those are all directly from the past, like from my great grandparents. So from the past 3 generations directly, that's my bloodline.
Wow. You're kind of like Jessica Alba.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she has
like
that. Oh, she's awesome. But yeah, she definitely has that mix, and that is what, you know, like gives you that South American fuse with the beautiful, you know, your lips are so different to the standard Kiwi lips that must come. Where is that? Is that your South American, or is that the European?
It'll definitely be the South American and the Western or Eastern Europe as well, for sure.
Which is probably where your spirituality comes, because I think that I mean, I spoke about Māori and Pacific culture. Certainly my Pacific relations tend to be way more religious, and my dad was a Jehovah's Witness, which is again is part of that conditioning, which has been, you know, my gift to unravel. But you know, the deeper cultures have access to wairua, or to that spiritual. It's like, it's not weird, it is kind of quite unusual in a standard Pākehā situation to be spiritual, to be, you know, it maybe in your, you know, in your generation it's not as, there's more acceptance, but definitely, you know, a lot of the people I work with outside of the tribal business, it is, they find it very kind of like confronting, actually, to even speak about astrology, or to speak about these kind of, you know, woo-woo topics. They find it very difficult. How is that for you as a young person in Aotearoa, and particularly coming in with this rich history, this rich lineage of magic, coming into living here? How is it?
Yeah, it was very interesting because it was just my mom and I that moved to New Zealand. So, and we moved to Cheviot, which is in North Canterbury, a tiny country town.
You hit. Does your mum, do you look like your mum? No, because your dad is the Chile out there.
Yeah, I've definitely got some of her face shape, but it's definitely more heavily my father's side for sure. But yeah, so growing up in a tiny town with because my mom took me traveling since I was born, so I've already seen the world a lot. So put into a tiny town was interesting. I was definitely always a misfit, for sure.
And how did you keep your spiritual? How did you not you know, shove it in the? How did you not lose your, you know, lose your sense of spirit and Cheviot?
Honestly, it's like I was born with a rebellious spirit. I've just always had that. I've always been, obviously now I have a very much deeper understanding of what goes on in the system. I obviously as a child didn't have the depth of knowledge I do now, but even as a child, I remember being very much like fuck the system type of attitude, recognizing that something isn't quite right here, like something, there's an illusion going on. And I remember even as like 10-11 years of being like, I want to be a president one day so that I can make the world better. Obviously, like I wouldn't want that now, but you know, that was what I was gonna give me the power to be able to help the world make it a better place. So even from such a young age, I already had this type of awareness. And my mom, she really helped me keep my spirituality alive. She's been always supporting me, pushing me to keep opening up my gifts. And at 13, I was already seeing spirits. It was quite intense, actually, to the point where at about 16, from 13 to 16, I had a lot of spiritual encounters almost on a daily basis, and it just got too much. It was never a negative thing. It was just too much to handle. I just didn't really have the direction or guidance on how to handle it. So it just got too much, and I decided to close it off. I was always calling up on on Saint Michael to you know, to
And,
take it away from me. Like, I
yeah,
don't want
yeah,
this anymore.
yeah,
So I was
yeah,
really cutting
yeah,
it off. And
yeah.
it's not until about now that I'm ready for that guidance to actually use my psychic gifts and my coaching and such, so that I can dive deeper with my clients. But also, I was very much introduced into self-development from the age of 11. So I didn't have a lot of friends in Cheviot when I was a child. And basically at summer times, my parents said that either you go and hang out with your friends or you're going to go to this weekend self-development for children. Either or, you either find your friends and go hang out with them. You're not going to sit at home all summer by yourself. Or
Oh, darling. Oh.
So I was, very heavily introduced to a completely different perspective, opening up and recognizing the power of the mind and self-awareness from a young age.
Incredibly lucky, because like I think this is probably why I've become so passionate about, and there is a lot of science thankfully behind meditation, which is what I mainly teach, but I've become so passionate about this area. And I call it super manifesting, but we all manifest all the time. And if you were like me in my 40s, I was manifesting, as my husband, he tells me, he says, you're manifesting. And I'm like, no, that's my term, get away. But super manifesting is just up leveling that, and actually really understanding that 90% of your mind is your imagination. Now, like, you say that to people and they look at you like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, it's just your subconscious mind. Like, you're actually breathing because of your subconscious mind, because you've got a program there. Like, everything we do is on automatic pilot, which is awesome, because if you had to think about some of the stuff that your body was doing, I would be a wreck. But then to actually take that from, what do you do when you actually realize that this huge body of thought and feeling energy, your 70K thoughts and feelings a day, it's one thing to know that you've got it, and then it's another thing to do something about that imagination and to uncover those blocks within you, which are really just things that you've told yourself for a very long time, lies, and other people's lies. How do you actually shift and change that? And I guess, from your own experience, which is really cool, it's because you were alone, and because you were a misfit, and because you didn't have to, you weren't in the mainstream, trying to do what everyone else was doing. What are you doing, Chevy, as a kid, as a teenager?
Ride sheep and get up to mischief on the farm.
Was your mum on a farm?
We lived on a lifestyle farm, but obviously all my friends, they had farms, so I did hang out on the farms a lot. Yeah.
And is that so did how has nature been part of this journey? Because for me, and if we run into a little practice, which I love to demonstrate, just so people can take it away and use it, but for me, grounding in Papatūānuku is so huge. I do that in every meditation practically, and I do so much work for Papatūānuku. I do so much work while everyone else is pushing their shitty energy, their temper tantrums into Papatūānuku and into our romuku, into those earthquake, into the plates. I'm like sending love down there. I'm sending love into the trees. Every time I'm walking over, it goes into the soil, into the rocks, I do so much work for Papa, and not, from a place of duty, but just because I don't think anyone else is, well, not very many people are doing that. And she puts up with so much shit, like so much of our rubbish, our toxic, dumps, our, what we put at the ocean is just atrocious.
Yeah.
What we do every, I said we're halfway to being a plastic bag. But it's true, because we are so kind of blind to really our connection with nature, which is our most natural. So was that something else about your spirituality is that a defining factor?
I'm just trying to think. Obviously, it definitely played a role to be so involved with helping out on the lifestyle farm and such. I don't know if I directly related to being part of my personal spiritual journey
Mm,
that I can think of, but I can definitely acknowledge that it most definitely had a role to
mm,
play of not being in a city and actually being
mm,
out in the middle of nowhere and having to get my hands dirty and helping out and looking after the land. But
mm,
to be consciously aware of it, I'm
mm,
not too sure. But I will definitely acknowledge that it most likely had a
mm,
role to play for sure.
mm. And now, because you talked about, being in, shifting into Papanui, which is kind of it's a very urban area in the city. And, it's, although you're close to the park, aren't you? But is that part of your practice? Is that something that bring through as a grounding factor for you? Is that something that has value?
Yeah, definitely. It was very important that we had a backyard. That was
Mm,
no question. If we're going to live in the city, there had to be at least grass for me to be able to put my feet on the earth, and that's what I have, and that's what I
mm,
definitely do. And
mm,
also, I the way that I have had something to do with my spiritual journey when it comes to nature is a lot of like plant medicines as well. So
okay. Yeah.
mushrooms, Santa
Mm,
Maria, and such.
mm,
So for me, that is almost a stronger connection that I have with
mm, mm,
incorporating nature in my spiritual journey. And that also allows me to just connect deeper in and have that remembrance of just that
mm,
pulsating energy that is everything in one, and
mm,
that definitely helps me again I feel like it's like the reset that this world needs. It is the plant medicines that allows us to reset into our remembrance. So that definitely has played a huge role um in my
mm,
spiritual awakening also.
mm. Yeah, that is, yeah. And so, and that's is that something that you teach with others? Because I'm really, there's so much more around plant medicine than, I mean, I work with it in a very different realm, but
Mhm.
and we kind of call it rongoa, where it's more around your physical well-being or or health, as opposed to the opening of the channels of your mind. But there is so much more now, isn't there? There's so much more awareness and openness towards use of plants to connect in with the Wairua realm as well, with our emotional and mental health.
Yes, absolutely. And like you say, I think it all goes hand in hand because I
Mm,
feel as we have that journey of remembrance, it
mm,
heals energetically, which also then in return heals physically. So I definitely believe it all connects, right? It all
mm,
lines up. And definitely it's something that has come into my radar of what I want to
mm,
offer. I just need to look into sort of the loopholes around that here in New Zealand. But definitely the last mushroom trip that I sat in, or journey that I sat in with my mum, actually, I was guiding her through her first proper journey. And I
mm,
just had this full remembrance and knowing of that I am here to be that guide
mm,
between the two
mm,
worlds, between the two realms, because
mm,
I'm so familiar with the psychedelic realm, and I am fully grounded while I'm in that journey. I
mm,
definitely know that I am here to be that guide of being that grounded mentor or guide through a journey for
mm,
others, for sure.
mm,
And definitely the name that came through was Journey of Remembrance, because that's ultimately what it always comes back to, is
mm,
remembering who you are in this lifetime, and also having remembrance of past lifetimes, and
mm,
activating your magic, activating your medicine, and also just letting go of everything that you've been holding on to so tightly,
mm.
thinking that it
Yeah.
matters, and suddenly just like, what was I even what was I even holding on to? What was I even thinking? Like, that's so
Yeah,
irrelevant. So it's just
yeah.
really that reset to coming back to your heart, coming back
Mm,
to your heart medicine, to your center.
mm. Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah. I think, well, should we do, I feel like I'm trying not to push you, but should we do something? Because do you want to ask me any questions about a practice? Because what I find, I think, and it's really interesting as, as a teacher, like it is my mission really to give people really super practical practices. And I think that's become something I've become, I'm even more determined to do it, because with spirituality, you can, well, certainly, myself, and I'm sure you can do the same. We can just go anywhere. Like, if we really get into this intergalactic space, we'll be off at Uranus before, or Sagittarius, we'll be into Te Kori. I actually use Te Kori a lot, which is the 27 degrees of Sagittarius. And when you know your degrees, you're going to find more of this. But it's the great galactic core. It's the realm of nothingness from whence all comes, Te Kori. So that I use that a lot in my work to help people get into that space. And, so it's about, I'm interested, if you want to ask me some questions around setting up a practice to actually change the inner tone, because as I said, it's when we awaken, when we remember, we're like, okay, so great, but then what's the next step, and how do you further that, and then how do you deepen that, and then how do you lengthen it, and then how do you stop, because everyone goes back to forgetting.
Yeah.
It's so easy to forget.
Yeah.
And especially when you're trying to manifest something big. And I heard you on one of your podcasts say that. You were like, you've done all the work, and it's not showing up. And it's like, universe, where's my stuff? Universe, where is it? I am a good manifester. I've done all my work. I've religiously, but it's not showing up.
Yes.
Why not? Why not? Why is it not here? So that has become my mission in the later years, is really to kind of find the ways of making it as simple as possible to have that practice, that even if it's not showing up, you're going to go, okay, well, I'm feeling so good inside myself. I can create these states of feeling that this sort of stuff is kind of immaterial.
Yes, absolutely. This is definitely where I'd love to dive into, for the listeners to be able to really soak up your medicine and soak up the tools and ways that they can implement this in their day-to-day life. So if we would start off with someone who has heard about manifestation, but they just haven't quite figured it out yet. How do you define manifestation based on what you have come to conclusion, and also from your own experience, and what role does it even play in creating abundance in our lives?
Well, first up, everyone is manifesting all the time. Whatever you think and feel on a habitual basis is going to show up in your life. And it's really hard to own that, but whatever is going on around you is because of the energetic pulses you've been sending out to the universe, the messaging, because your thoughts are energy and your focus has energy, and when you put it, it just grows and grows. So I'd always define it that way, to say you're manifesting right now. Even if you did nothing conscious for your entire life, you would manifest relationships, you would manifest cars, you would manifest, good stuff. The challenge, and that's why I asked you that question about have you had your Saturn return yet? Because that's one of the big challenge. It's not a challenge of the universe, actually. It's just the universe gives us energetic life experience through our astrology, which is a map of our probable energy, how we play it out. And so we're given these challenges all the way through to the time when we take the reins and say, I've got this. I'm doing this. Okay.
But this is interesting. Is the Saturn return, what I have heard, it's like from the age of 28 to 30, but is it from the age of 28 until you just said, like, until you've like grabbed the reins and taking control over it.
Yeah, it just depends a bit where Saturn is in your chart. So whereas Saturn is universally. So at the moment Saturn is in Aquarius, and is it Aquarius? Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that is. So I better get it right. But and we're going to come into a complex topic here because we are down under. So whatever we experience with the Northern Hemisphere chart readings, we are naturally the opposite as well, because astrology is actually not based around stars, it's based around seasons and the flavor of sunlight in the seasons. So down under, when the first day of astrology essentially starts, March the 21st, well, for a start it's March the 22nd in Aotearoa, and it's not the first day of spring, it's the first day of autumn. So you have to remember that we are 12 hours ahead of the base time, Greenwich Mean Time, in the Placidus system, and that's one that most astrologers use, and it seems to relate to us in Western astrology. And we are 2 seasons difference, we're opposite seasons. So on your Pisces sun, you're just as much Virgo. You have, I say sign polar, so you're both the sign and its opposite. And you may not notice that in your life, but you may, it will come up in different stages. And then on your Scorpio side, you're just as much Taurus. And there are some, for us down under in Aotearoa, there's some really powerful stars in Taurus. Matariki, the Pleiades, that system is in Taurus. There's some really significant energy that guides this planet, this part of the Earth, in addition to the earthquake zones, but the star system, the Orion star belt, which is in Gemini. So we have, which makes it more complicated. But in terms of Saturn, wherever Saturn is in your chart, you're going to have both the sign. Do you know where Saturn is in your chart?
I cannot remember right now, actually. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
So Saturn does a 30-year spin, and when you have a Saturn return, it's when Saturn comes back to the sign that it was in your birth. And generally what that does is it's sort of the first time that your personal planets or your personal astrology is kind of hit by something external. And so there's that, and then Uranus hits in your 40s, Chiron hits as you come up towards your 50s, and there's other, those are just they're kind of big shifts which are meant to propel you into this greater of assimilation of universal and physical energy. Because when you get a chart, you know how it goes in a circle? So above the line are the planets above the horizon, and below, the line below, is all the planets that are in nighttime or under the horizon because they can't be seen. So because I said of our geography, if you have a night chart, you actually got a day chart, even if you were born at, so from, were you born in New Zealand? You came to New Zealand
I was born in Finland. You're
born in Finland. So you are an unusual character from an astrological perspective, because you have a North Hemisphere chart, which is true. But because you've lived here pretty much your whole life, you've actually got that South flavor. So you've got the sign polarism. But can you see how, well, I think, so where am I going with this? It's really complicated because there's so much energy in us. And even though we've got these big placements, the sun, our rising and our moon are the key points in our chart, and New Zealand, we're both the sign and the opposite. But we also have all this energy that is being, magnified in us and silenced in us. And so I guess where I'm going with that is you as the interpreter, me as the interpreter of the energy within myself. I can either use astrology, or I can take charge consciously of this tidal wave of energy and decide to shape it. And that's why I was going to pull up. and hopefully it won't be covered. I wrote the book, basically. I've got my things behind me. I basically wrote this to say that super manifesting has just been conscious about it, and it's about taking 100% responsibility, whether you're using astrology or whether you're working with plant medicine or whether you're just sitting quietly every day for some time, which I just think is absolutely and utterly necessary. And it's that, I think the only difference I would say with super manifesting, other than consciousness and 100% responsibility, is that you use your slowest brainwaves. And those are the brainwaves when you are taking plant medicine, when you're walking on the earth, when you're, closing your eyes and tuning into your intuition. When you're reading for a client, you're generally using alpha. When you're sleeping and dreaming, they're such precious brainwaves. One thing with all my clients, I'm like, guard your sleep in the day, guard your sleep in the night. Make sure that you get 2 hours of delta. If you have to get a health tracker, do it. Delta is your brainwave where you detoxify everything, where you naturally heal, and where you can create anything. So if you're, and if you're starting something new, like tell me your process, and then I'll just, give this little, like if you're wanting to work on a new car or a new house or a new relationship or a new state, what is your usual process that you would use? Is it a conscious one, or is it an unconscious, intuitive, imaginary?
It's definitely a combination of both.
Mm.
There will be just allowing my intuition to guide me, to give me those sparks of following the breadcrumbs of, and trusting in that too. Like I have a lot of trust in my own inner guidance. So following that, and then also I guess there'd be the conscious side of recognizing if there is anything that, depending on what the size of this new thing is, if I'm facing some resistance with it, then actually consciously doing some shadow work around it. Of course, that's not necessary every time, because if it's something smaller, that's not needed. But if I'm feeling like it's something that's pushing me slightly to my edge, and then it's facing me with some resistance, or something is coming up, some blocks, then I will consciously try to recognize what is that. So but definitely the balance of the two, for sure.
Do you use your dream time?
So I definitely, I'm kind of, I get a lot of messages and intuitive hits from my dreams, and I've had that my whole life. So I definitely get a lot of symbolism through my dreams that will, when I look into it, when I'm waking up, it'll guide me as well with that.
So your process is quite a feminine or receptive, isn't it? Which is kind of so, which it's a really interesting. So you well, I'm hearing you do a lot more allowing and a lot more. You're not like me. Like I'm serious, which is probably why I find it so hard to allow. I'm a serious. Like I'm like you tell your subconscious this.
Yeah,
I do get out of the way when I get out of my own way when I'm got working, I have a lot of resistance. But I think and I'm just, not one, there's no one right way, but I think, and maybe it's an age thing as well, like I'm like, there is something that we can do every day and should do every day that is big, not little, whether that's for ourselves or for helping someone in our circle, because that's a big part of me, but we are meant in our one physical life to actually do big things. We are not meant to just like coast around. We are meant to take risks and to so I kind of think to do those big things that you have to really, really channel every bit of that river within yourself. And I think I came even more strongly to that realization when I really started studying Neville Goddard. Do you study his works?
No, I haven't even heard.
Oh my God, the best manifestor of all time. I have to do a little rant because he's passed over. So, but he was in the 1960s. I can't remember when he was born. He might have died in the 1960s. But he basically, he has single-handedly changed my view of the Bible, because he basically says the Bible's pure symbolism. Everyone's got it wrong. And every single part of God is the I am force within. It is part of us, but it is way bigger than us. It is the quantum. It is, it's source. It's all that is. And Jesus Christ is our imagination. And I was like, whoa. And our sins are really just conditioned senses and forgetting to listen. So he helped thousands of people. At a TV show in the US in the 1960s, people showed up at 2 to 3 p.m., quite radical, and listened to him give a sermon, which was about you channeling, not listening to anyone else, not listening to you or me, but just every day using your powerful imagination, directing it, and specifically when you go to bed, and specifically when you you have to. It's almost like your role as a mystic to bring it to bear and to work, big, deep, and hard. And I think when I really studied Neville, it just kind of really up-leveled and shifted me into, I've got to do some big things. There has to be some big things.
Yeah.
Pure consciousness, big things, not big things as in, build some, multi-million-dollar, self-help business, which probably is not me, because, you really straddle that line of biting your own stardust and becoming the guru. I mean, my practice is, you are the divine being of your life, and you have every bit of knowledge and power to do whatever you do. But what we all need help with is staying focused, keeping our imagination focused, dreaming bigger, being bigger, showing up, being more connected, and then getting out of the way.
Yeah.
So it's but that dream time is huge, because you get delta pretty much, unless you're a bad sleeper or if you're one of these people.
Yeah, which a lot of us are, right? So this year you would recommend for the listeners to include some form of a nighttime ritual for themselves in bed, or just before they hit bed, to really get into that zone of imagination and manifestation, to incorporate that into their dream realms.
Yeah, I have a really specific process. So, and it's owning dream time, basically. And that's because it's free programming of your hypnosis. So it's so, like, if you're going to have one ritual in your life that's sacred, you want to have harnessing your dream space. But also, if a lot of people, and I think because of our modern industrial, and our work lives, you can't just necessarily get that sleep at nighttime. And that's why your meditation practice is so important. So for me, that's in the morning when I come out. I do struggle, I got to say, but I try not to pick up my phone. And if, sometimes I'm really curious because I've been working on something and I've, poured a lot of heart into the content, and I want to see if anyone's picked it up and commented. But if I can, I will just go to my sitting place and I will run through my practice, which, I can walk it through for you if you want to do that, because it's I know it works. And then before I go to bed, I'll either do a gratitude, a love practice, but definitely where I am consciously making myself go into delta or theta, which is really interesting when you start to study how how to get those brainwaves. Because either meditations, hypnosis, it doesn't matter. I learned self-hypnosis because I've got a really curious mind about understanding how things work. And I was like, I don't want to be, sharing something that's woo without actually knowing how it works in terms of your brain. But, whether it's self-hypnosis or whether it's meditation, they're the same things. They just get you to, if they're good. The thing is deepening it. Like, you probably work really well with alpha. Alpha is your relaxed brainwave. So we have beta. You and I are talking in beta. High beta is when you're stressed. Gamma is super fast learning, and that's fast. Alpha's relaxed. So if you're taking a walk, if you're playing some music, alpha. It's also the realm of psychics. You can read anything in alpha. And I think you follow Tony Robbins. He says anything can be done in alpha. Theta is everything starts to lose form a bit. And at theta, you're starting, it's a real healing realm. So if you are a toner, if you tone, that's theta. If you are in that kind of, when you're meditating, when you hit it, because it's like the symbolism becomes sort of looser, and there's like great swashes of color. And then delta, this is the weird thing. This is why I love meditation and self-hypnosis so much, that you can be fully awake, sitting upright, and at that deepest realm, and you're there because you feel euphoric. And it doesn't often last very long, and it's tingly. So do you get those? It's really tingly. And also, I know, because one day I shoved a pin all the way through my hand while I was in Delta, just to see if I could do it. This is the weird.
Don't try this at home.
No, you can. But you've got to make sure that you're there, because otherwise it's going to hurt. But no, that's where, like, hypnotists. This is why I got so fascinated by them. They used to cut off people's legs by hypnotizing them. And when I learned I learned a whole lot of different levels of hypnosis. We had this video where this woman had her 2 front teeth taken out, pulled, extracted, and she was lying on this bed, and this guy was going, now just imagine you're on your favorite beach and the sun is shining and the jewel's going, yee! And I'm like, I couldn't even imagine how the hypnotist could do it. But they took out her teeth. She came to, didn't need an anesthetic, just walked off. And I was like, holy that is cool.
Yeah.
That is a reason to learn hypnosis and then practice on yourself, because if you can be awake and facilitating a meditation in the outer galaxies or in your body, or manifesting this state, which exists now anyway, but you're in it while you're sitting in your chair in your house, that regularly, that is a very, very, very cool, fun thing to do. Way more interesting than watching Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're activating your power and your magic and your manifesting abilities, right? So this is as well where, do you believe, this is at least my conclusion that I've come to from also years of, I was, when I started my manifestation journey, I was very much wanting to know the nitty gritty. Like, tell me how this works. Like, I want to know exactly how this works. How do you apply this? And how manifestation is such a hot topic and has been for a while. And I definitely was at a point at one time where, I just thought it was, you just imagine and you just sit there and things come to you, right? And I very quickly realized that that didn't work, right? And then finding that balance of
well, they do. They do, though, but they tend to be negative because of the inner self-talk, and we are predominantly wired towards negativity. And when I say negativity, I call it faulty. It's fear, uncertainty, lack, and doubt. And most of that comes from our childhood, and most of it's set in train, and it's in your imagination, it's a neural pathway. So that is not, you do imagine, we all do. Whatever is in front of us, we've imagined.
Yeah. Crazy
mean,
to actually put
I
it
know it is.
in perspective.
Yeah, well, it's just that very few of us are actually owning the power to imagine good stuff and consistently and long enough of those slow brain waves to actually bring it about. We just go, oh yeah, it's too hard. I'll just go and, I'm just going to go and do this, and I'm going to go and do that, and I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to, we maneuver all the physical bits of our universe all the time. And even if you're a good manifester, there's a real process to, to be so disciplined that you don't get distracted. Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. So do you believe from your own experience, expertise, research that to become a manifestor, or a conscious manifestor, because like you said, we are always manifesting our reality, even unconsciously, but to become a conscious manifestor, what we desire, what we want to create our realities, do you believe it is about harnessing, breaking through those limitations, working through the inner child healing?
Yeah.
Or do you believe there's a balance between also taking aligned action and following your intuition of your inner guidance to lead the way? Like, is it a balancing act, or is it a refinement of your internal world?
So because I'm one of those, I guess I'm more masculine than feminine. My approach is really, you do the work and consistently do the work, and then you wait. But I say that, and then I don't wait. So I like to do all the bits, but you wait for the big sign. So that's where your intuition, I don't think you let your intuition flow just like, for me, that's not what I want to do, but that goes back to this desire to do something big.
Yeah.
To do something big or go home, like I've
Yeah.
always, manifested, lots and lots of money. There's been one thing that I'm good at, but I have a Taurus midheaven, so I'm always going to be manifesting money.
Love
But,
it.
yeah, but it's so the intuitive part is when you've done your work, but you still need to do your work. And I guess I would be challenging, any person who is awake is to do something bigger, do something that really pushes you beyond playing around. And that, it could be something that's personal, or it could be something that's related to consciousness. For me, I want it to relate to consciousness. I want to, be responsible for helping people to see themselves, as many people as I can, to really see themselves as sovereign beings, as divine beings, as, as able to do amazing things all the time. So that's my personal mission. But some people just want to build a really big company. Some people just want to, like Manifestation Babe, she just wants to be a billionaire and have lots of children and go to, amazing hotels and swan around. I mean, yeah. I mean, it just depends.
Yeah.
I think but it is that the process I follow is really pared back, and I borrowed it from Neville because I know he made it work, and he helped thousands of people manifest, trips overseas, cars, new homes, new businesses, new lovers, amazing things. So yeah, I love him. I love his work, and probably the Abraham Hicks crew and Joe Dispenza, those big. Oh, there's a amazing. If your listeners are really interested in this, one of the books that probably changed my life, my consciousness hugely, was The Nature of True Reality, of The Nature of Your Reality, is it? Oh, I can't even remember the name, by Jane Robertson. She was an amazing psychic.
Okay.
And Esther and Jerry Hicks learnt from her and her husband, but she channeled Seth. And Seth Speaks is the first book, but that explains the entire kind of cosmos from an energetic perspective, and also explains, those brainwaves, because Seth speaks about the brainwaves and how they relate to how you work with consciousness.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's really, it's one of, I have as like a must read. But the nature of personal reality talks about the process of how you work with your inner thoughts and your inner feelings, and takes on some pretty heavy paradigms, collective paradigms, takes on the medical institution and, big pharma, and, essentially challenging us to be out of the hypnosis of those big programs.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. But at the end of the day, it still says those exist. You have to work in your own life. You have to work on your awareness. You have to work on your slow, your silence practice. And I think that's what I probably like the most.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely resonate with all of that, really. And just that's almost the balance there, right? Is like doing that inner work and allowing yourself that silence to be able to just clear out the noise and actually come into your pure manifesting essence. But having it like the belief in yourself, belief in that is possible for you. There's no doubt that that's going to come to you. So would you say that's almost like the biggest challenge that people have is it just comes down to that. It's different conditionings, or from upbringing, being told like, who do you think you are to ask for that, or not enough for that, or blah blah blah, right? It's all these conditionings that either we've gotten from our parents or upbringing, or even the society is always saying that that's not possible, or trying to fit people into a box. So it really is about healing those parts of yourself and remembering what you're actually capable of.
It totally is. Yeah, it absolutely is. But there's both the active, but there's also the revision. Like I think I probably, and maybe it is because I have done a lot of healing. Like I really had to. I went into my, metaphysical cave and really dragged out the limitations. So you have to do that work. But even if you didn't do that, even if you weren't prepared to do that, because some people have got some pretty bad stuff in their, childhood experience. I mean, we all have trauma, but if you just today said, okay, I am going to make a difference now to myself. I'm aware, I'm awake. I know I've got this huge power within myself and I'm responsible for everything. So I'm going to do something about it. If you have this very simple practice in terms of manifesting, and then you also have another practice, which is called revision, which I guess is kind of a healing, but essentially sounds really weird, but it's probably I reckon it's the secret source of super manifesting, is everything that happens to you in your day, which is a reflection of the inner energetic vibrations of you. If you don't like it, for a start, you say to yourself, okay, so I was creating that. And which is hard. Like you have an argument with your mother and, and she tells you, or somebody runs into you in their car and, you've got significant damage. Well, in this practice, you essentially just go at night, you go back and you revise the events of the day that you didn't like, and you up-level them to what you do like. And you don't even have to need to see that they're shifting, but you just do it.
Yeah.
So every bad conversation, you shift and change it, because past, present, future, they're all together, like there's no. So that's really important. And then to do that in your past as well, you could have, it's really easy. You go, okay, something's happened to me. Where did this limiting belief come from? Straight away, you'll be able to say, how old was I? 2. Who was I copying? Mum or dad? Somebody else is there. So you go back to that event in your mind, and if you can, the better and slower you can get, the better. You go into that event, and if you need a guide, you take a guide. If you need your wand and your magic unicorn and your rainbow, or your suite of light, you zap that and you shift and change it. And then it breaks up a neural pattern. You open your heart. I always go around doing this. I tap my heart, and then I just send myself into the event, and I shift and change it. And it could be, you know, like something that happened where you suddenly realize that something that you were told off as a kid, and you were told you were naughty. I was always told to put my clothes on because I was always naked as a kid. And when I
Natural, baby.
yeah, and actually my daughter was, until she was, you know, we took her many places, including India, and she refused to put on any clothes, and it was just it was really difficult. I was always chasing after Indian guys and grabbing their phone and like breaking them in half, but it was the same thing. She obviously got it from me. But so I go back into that time and I have this conversation, you know, with my dad, and it's like, you know, she's a kid, you know, let her climb, you know, she's naked up the tree, just, you know, doesn't matter, you know, God can strike her down some other day. That's a really powerful way of working with yourself, and it's not healing. Well, it is, but it is hugely healing. But it's also just when you clear out that, when everything that you are creating in your life is the way you like it, irrespective of whether anyone else believes or whether there's evidence, you just keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. You got to do both. You got to manifest and you got to revise. And if you revise the way you like it, quite often it shifts, especially with forgiveness.
Yeah.
If you can go in and pour love on something that really hurt you and forgive from the deepest place of yourself, and then turn it into, you know, you and this, you know, frenemy who are suddenly holding hands. That actually happened to me. Do you know that?
Wow.
I had 3 significant women who I felt incredible betrayal towards. And I had this journal. I called it my forgiveness journal. And I wrote myself letters from them saying, please forgive me.
Yeah, that's so powerful.
No, but I tell you what, in 1 week, those 3 women turned up in the supermarket and they all gave me a hug. And this is deep pain. Like,
Yeah.
this is deep, you know, betrayal by woman, which hurt me so much. And one of them used the words, please forgive me, out of her mouth in a supermarket in New Brighton, actually. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
So that's how powerful revision is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. And I think we don't practice it. I challenge myself when bad stuff turns up.
Yeah. Yeah, everything that you touched on, it's so powerful, and things that I haven't called it revision, but I've definitely used those practices myself, you know, going into your inner child, and yeah, like you say, like pinpointing events or situations that you can recall as far back as possible. What age were you? And even feeling like, what, you know, where in the body is it feeling? What color is it? What shape is it? What texture is it? And really allowing it to, you know, witness it, and ask, like, how long have you been here, and what purpose have you served, and thank you for what you've done for me, but now I no longer need you. And also reparenting yourself, right? Because you know, like obviously there's some bad people, a lot of bad people in this world, but there is also a lot of, like, our parents or our caregivers just didn't know better. So, you know, it's like understanding that as well, and understanding, like, what's been really healing for me, especially with my father wound, is seeing him as a child, and recognizing why those behaviors have been there, and then why that has been part of my upbringing, or how he's projected onto me. And it just gives you a different perspective and understanding around, we are all just human beings, like, trying to navigate this world, you know, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't make it less painful, but at least you don't take it on as like, why doesn't he love me, or why this, that's not about you, it's about them and their journey. But the understanding that we have to reparent ourselves, it's just us and us at the end of the day, you know. And so to be there for ourselves and be able to give all the love and comfort and care that we so desire with ourselves, for ourselves, and that's really what we crave, you know. And then also, like you say, with that manifesting, it's understanding
on
how
the day low,
manifest who we attract into our lives too, right? So until we can get to a point of, like, filling ourselves up, we will keep manifesting situations or relationships or friendships that are just going to be these patterns. And until you recognize the pattern and recognize what of that is within you and heal from that or transmute that or reclaim your power from that, it's just going to keep manifesting. So all of this, you know, the situations, relationships, friendships, like you say, it is constantly manifesting, but it's deciding, how do you want it to manifest? Do you want it to keep being this like uncomfortable, toxic cycle, or do you want it to actually be expansive and healing and growing and pushing you, you know, or like connecting you deeper in with yourself?
But also, I think if you can also see it as your responsibility, and maybe that is again the masculine approach, but I look at it that if I don't on a daily basis make everything that is part of my day and my my waking awareness, my sleeping awareness, I can't manifest the big stuff, because if you have junk in the trunk, it's going to get in the way of manifesting a new car. And like sometimes we want that. It's going to get in the way of your dream business, because you'll be sabotaging it through your own and really it's just lack of focusing. It's really just, and I mean, and I guess I don't know if you want to do it, but we could just to give you an idea of the way my process works, because it's so simple. We don't have to go really, really deep into it, but you probably will, because you are, you're a deep wahine with a lot of intuition. But it is to replay this process over and over and over and over again, which is what you have to do with your subconscious mind to change stuff. It sort of seems really weird, like to distill your whatever it is. And I think, let's just give it a go if you want to.
Go for it. I'd love that. I'd love to experience this and allow, the watchers, the listeners to as well experience your magic and what you offer. So for sure, let's go for it.
All right. So firstly, just really honoring you, Michelle. And if anyone is out there in the audience, we're just really holding this circle, this from our open hearts. We're holding it for everyone. So what I always say first is just think of one goal, and if you're comfortable with sharing it, and it could be small or it could be big, but just think of, because you always just want to work on one goal per meditation. So what's one goal that you're working on at the moment?
It's so interesting because it's changed in the last week. I had this massive breakthrough, and like I'll just quickly touch on what you just said before of just how if you've got something that's stuck, it will block your manifestations. I've been in a long-term relationship for 8.5 years, and we had a lot of misalignment for a long time because he's got a lot of traumas, which was then wounding me, and we were just wounding each other through it. It was never toxic, but it was just this thing, right? And we were breaking up a week ago and just had the biggest breakthrough that we've had, and basically it's just completely opened up channels. But for a long time I've been very aware that this is what is blocking my business, my money flow, my clients flowing in, it's blocking, and I've been aware of that for a long time. So now it definitely feels like the plug has been unplugged and like the channel is open. I'm ready to receive and we're ready to go. What I will touch on, I guess, for today is, I don't know, for some reason money is coming through. Money's coming up for me. I'm so close to that. I know I'm right there, to crack the code of it, or to just manifest so abundantly with ease.
It's so awesome that you spoke about that. I just want to really honor you in that, because for a start, spiritual people often won't have it's great you said money. That's great. Abundance is, and we're going to work on that, but a lot of people, spiritual people, won't do it. They'll just say, it'll just come, or money is security and
Freedom.
Freedom, and you cannot pour, you cannot, a river can't flow to the sea without water, right? We need that flow. We need it to come into us. So that's awesome. So we'll just imagine that everyone in the audience just brings up this idea of money or abundance, there's, I always say first, every time you go into meditation, whatever you're doing, the first thing you do is set an intention. So, and if you want to close your eyes, you can, but you don't have to. Just set your intention to use your deepest levels of your consciousness now. And just allow yourself to deepen into the most divine part of you. So I'm going to start just by asking you and everyone who's doing this just to take a couple of deep breaths, really to center the body and relax the body. So however you like to breathe, that's great. And a few more, and just relax and deepen and deepen. If you want to breathe right from the earth and bring it up and come down from the sky and breathing out. And as you're doing this, just imagining that you're becoming your awareness. The physical you is merging with who you really are, and that is pure consciousness. And just allow that to flow and relax. And when you're ready, just let your breath come to a natural pace. And I want you to center in your heart. And as you center in your heart, just releasing everything that is an awareness of yourself coming into your heart. In your heart, just feel your goal. Feel it in the front heart and in the back, and pushing all around you. Just feel in the goal. And while you're there, I want you to feel the state or the feeling state of your goal as if it exists now. So the feelings, let them surround you in your heart and all around you and all in your field, just as pure awareness of the feelings, of the state. So with abundance, it could be freedom, but just allow those feelings to surround you. And hold them with your goal fused as they are here now, as you are thinking from this end state now. And just drop them as a ray of awareness, of light. Might be a beam of light. Just drop them into Papa Tōnaku, Mother Earth below your feet. And come down through the layers. Your goal is merged with your consciousness of being. Drop them into Papa Tōnaku, into all that is, that's connected with all that is. With your guides, with your teachers, with your ancestors. Just feel everything merge as light and release any resistance around your consciousness as being, goal as being, feelings as being. And with this awareness now, please draw from Papatūānuku with her greatest of love and connection to your feet, to your toenails, to the soles of your feet, to your ankles, through your bones, drawing the light up, through to your calves, circling if you wish, to your knees, to your quads, to your hamstrings, into your root, into your genitals, your reproductive, creative, most powerful abilities, to your sacrum, all is light, to your stomach, to your solar plexus, back through your heart and up, circle the energy around through your spine, flowing up into your throat. Feel the truth of your success, drawing energy through all of your body into your head, into your port of matakiti, your inner eye, your third eye. And if you like, you can circle the energy round and round and round, releasing all resistance, round, and drawing up into the crown of your head. With the permission of your guides and your ancestors and all that is, give yourself permission as consciousness to leave your body. As light, as a ray of light, as a beam of light, as a mighty river of light, however it shows to you now. And just leave and come up, leave your body, or come through. Some people go through, some others go up. But as you are going up or through, circle the energy and continue to release all known versions of self, all stories, and just come up as pure awareness of being, the divinity of self, up and up and up, leaving the earth, the sun, the planets, the star systems, merging into layers of light. Come up and through and push into the realm of nothingness, Tikuri. It feels like entering a warm tunnel of liquid light, of blue, gold, sparkly, translucent browns. It's warm, it's safe, and push through and up, almost through a jelly-like substance as you push out and into pure white, tingly light. I just want to program in here, return at any time to do your work in this realm. So just holding here, see your goal as one moment that defines the success of your goal. There is one tiny act that is here, one tiny gesture that confirms to you that you are successful. Whatever that is, make it smaller. It could be opening a door, It could be receiving a check, whatever it is. Just concentrate on the flavors and the sounds. If there is a smell here, wherever you are, as you are successful, I want you to be in your body, in your awareness in this moment, in this pure white, tingly light. If you can hear the sounds that support this success, just bring them all in, and I'll pause for a little moment. And there's someone here with you who confirms your success. They congratulate you on the success of your goal. And you are hugging, their heart is open, your heart is open. Bring out the feelings and amplify the feelings. How are you feeling in your body with this person who's confirming your success to you? Are they smiling? Are you smiling? Are you holding hands? Are you kissing? Are you hugging? Are you dancing? Are you turning around and around? I really want you to feel this beauty of creation, of being successful, of thinking from the end. I really want you to compound these feelings. The colours, what do you see? The smells, what are you smelling? What do you hear? How are you feeling, and where are you feeling it in your body? Just really condense, expand and amplify these feelings. And this person, their heart is so open with you. You are literally dancing through this moment. It is filling every cell of your body. It is the DNA. It is around you. It is in you. It is through you. It is you. And I pause for a tiny moment as you go deeply, keep going deeper into this, the feeling tones of this moment. Okay, Michelle, I want you to gather this all up and bring it back through into your body where you are here now. I just want you to assimilate all of the feeling tones and just really feel that it is done, it is done, it is done. Ko motu modi ora. And when you are ready with the full integration for where you are to go next, just come back fully into your waking awareness. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
So good.
How was that?
Oh, it was so good. So activating, exciting, beautiful. Yeah.
So the only thing to add, and I hope everyone has done that, and I forgot to say turn off your screens or, put on your headphones, but you just got to repeat that. In your meditation, same. I just use the process. You don't have to use that. You can use any process, but that moment, because I could see how much you were enjoying. I was like, "What are you doing? I want to know." But that moment, and just not the whole visual symphony of all the things that are going, just that one moment. Put that into your dream time every night. This is your homework. Write down how many nights in a row. And then just wait.
Yeah.
When the big signs show up, you don't have to do anything at all. You've planted the seed, and you have, you of anyone knows how to receive. Like, you're teaching me some amazing things about allowing and processing. But yeah, just plant that in your dream time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every meditation, that one moment. And I don't know if you do that, but that is the regularity of that, with the shifting out of any resistance every day, that will make it happen faster.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. That was such an honor to soak in your medicine. And yeah, I invite all the listeners to definitely replay this, tune into this part daily. Really harness this magic, this medicine for yourself, and start witnessing what is possible for you, what you're capable of, and how fucking magical you are. And it's all within you. Like you mentioned earlier as well, it's recognizing that we are our own gurus. It's just a matter of having others activate or guide us into that remembrance and realization. And that's what you've done for us today. So thank you so much. This is powerful, and I'm so excited. Anybody that's tuning in and has put this into practice, I would love for you to message Carmelle or message myself or comment on what has shifted for you, what has manifested for you through this process. We would love to support you and celebrate you through this and witness you in this transformation. So thank you so much, Carmelle. This has been such an honor. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. And like mentioned earlier, you've written a self-mastery manifestation book, which you showed the beautiful cover of earlier on, and you're launching it on the 8th of November this year. So 8th of
Scorpio season.
Ooh, powerful. I love that. So it's really about helping others access and master the benefits of the meditation, self-hypnosis, and ancestral trauma healing and manifestation. Is there anything else you would like to add to the launch, to the book that you're releasing for the listeners?
No, not at all. My Instagram is at Super Manifestor. If people want to reach out, I actually offer a lot of free stuff. So a lot of different meditations, and I've got links if people want the workbook. But that's probably the only thing. And I want to say that to your audience, that they're very lucky for a start to have you as a guide, but also just to keep going. Like, manifesting is actually way easier. You just got to take a moment, distill it, feel it, and just keep practicing, because I think that's what we forget to do. We forget how playful it is, how not known it is, how it's just kind of, it's these ways of being that we're too serious with ourselves and with our stuff and with our wants. So just dream more.
I love that. I love that. So just reminding people that you can purchase the book through Carmelle, through her Instagram, message her or through her link, and get your hands on this magic. It's going to be very transformative for you and change your life and create massive impact for you. So definitely get your hands on that when it launches. And thank you once again, Carmelle. This has been wonderful, and I look forward to a future conversation again.
Absolutely. I'm going to interview you next on my channel.
I'll be honored. That'll be exciting. Thank you. Amazing. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be hosting another conversation soon. So keep an eye for that.